I wanted to come back and talk about the Galaxy S23 FE before I did the full comparison with the Galaxy A54. That'll be tomorrow, because I've seen a lot of stuff online and on Twitter about the S23 FE that, having used it now for about a week, I just flat out disagree with. There's two schools of thought that I've seen criticizing this device. The first one is people basically looking at the spec sheet, comparing it to the price, seeing what else is out there in the marketplace, and determining that this phone isn't worth it based off of that. And I think that is a major mistake unless you've used this device. Then you kind of don't understand the package that you're getting for the price, because that completely disregards the extra value, the added value that the Samsung ecosystem and software has. There's different ways to value these phones, and the more and more companies differentiate themselves with software, the more you've got to, I know it's tough to do because it's not tangible, the more you have to put a value or a dollar amount on each individual ecosystem. And to me, One UI is worth a little bit more than some of the other ones that you get on the competition. The second school of thought that I've seen criticizing this device is taking the old problems that have happened in the past with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 and transferring them, carrying them forward to this device. And I think that's a mistake, because that's certainly not the case. So let's address some of those concerns head on. And of course, the first one and the most prominent one is the chipset inside of it. And like I said, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1. I had the same reservations. I had the same questions. I was wondering why they didn't put the Plus version in this device. I was thinking back to my time with the S22 Ultra and the struggles that I had with the Gen 1 chip, whether it was slightly overheating, not hot, not boiling, but overheating a little bit. That leads to, of course, power inefficiencies. Then you had problems with battery life, battery drain. All these things were issues on the S22 Ultra, and I was hesitant knowing that the same chipset was going to be in the S23 FE. But I am proud to say, or pleased to say, that that has not been the actual experience. Whether it's that vapor chamber that everybody claims is in it, or whatever is taking care of the heat issue, I have not had the overheating that people are attributing to this device based solely on reading that it has the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 in here. I have not experienced overheating. Scrolling, lots of it, gaming, plenty of time consistently on this. It gets maybe a little warmer than it was, but certainly not the heat that would be generated by something like an S22 Ultra when I was using it. So that's not been an issue. Battery life, also been really good. Mobile network drain that really destroyed the S22 Ultra battery life has not been an issue on the S23 FE. I think it drained about 5%, 6% overnight. During the day, you're not going to notice a big drain, and you can absolutely wail on this battery. And whether that's the vapor chamber, like I said, the way they dissipate heat, perhaps it's software optimizations they've made in the past 2 years working with this chipset, whatever they did, they've locked it in to the point where those old problems don't apply to the S23 FE. So don't carry them forward, just basically looking at a list and saying, well, it's going to have XYZ problems until you use it and you understand what you're getting. The other one I saw was that there would be, they got the temperature down only by throttling the performance. Let me tell you something. This performs better than the S22 Ultra, as dumb as that might sound. This phone really has been silky smooth. An absolutely fantastic experience. I have not noticed any hiccups, any slowdown, any dragging along. I've just been absolutely pleased up and down with what I've gotten out of the S23 FE. Just a really, really good overall experience on this device without any issues. Nice and smooth getting in and out of apps. No problems whatsoever. It's a really smooth scroll in Twitter, Facebook, anything you're doing. Good gaming performance. Of course, you're going to get that with the extra power that this chipset's going to give you, but also the battery life to go with it. Can easily get 7 hours of screen on time with this guy here. So that's something that you have to look at. Let's talk about those other ecosystems, because One UI, part of that smoothness that they've been able to get on Android is due to Samsung software. I really believe that One UI right now is still the best optimized Android software on the market. The Pixel experience, Material U with the Pixel 8 Pro, is pretty darn good. So that's now come into the arena now. We have them as making a comeback a little bit with their software, but I still really love One UI. And so when you look at the competition around the same price range. And you say, well, the Nothing Phone 2 has the Plus version for $599. Well, you got Nothing OS, which I like. I think it's really clean. I love what they do with updates. Not quite as smooth. Then you've got Oxygen OS 14 or Oxygen OS 13, upcoming 14 on the OnePlus 11. Let me tell you something. Pound for pound, I value my experience on the S23 FE better than the OnePlus 11. Not because of power, because sheer power and specs, you'd think the OnePlus 11 would wipe the floor with this phone. It doesn't. It doesn't. It rarely comes down to just pure benchmarks and specs. There's a lot more that goes to it. You can have raw horsepower, that's fine. But unless you put the environment around it to maximize, get the most out of that horsepower, it's not going to mean anything. So that's what I think Samsung does. They're getting every single watt of power out of this device, and it really shows throughout the entire thing. You want to talk about the design? You want to say it's a little last week, a little clunky, a little thick with the bezel, it looks too much like the A54, all valid criticisms. But to think that this phone doesn't have a place in the market is ridiculous. Link in the description, by the way, does really help the channel, so I do appreciate that if you use those links. But I think if you're looking for something that gets you into One UI, gets you a Samsung device that's going to be completely representative, a decent enough camera. It is better than the A54 camera. We're going to go over that tomorrow, but I do like the camera system in here. It's not great. There's some question marks, but the shutter speed is good, and the images are okay. The color's okay. It's decent enough for this price range. I like the build quality. You're either going to like the flat display or not. You're going to either like the thicker frame here or you're not. You're either going to like the bezels, or no, nobody's going to like them, but you either ignore the bezels or you won't. So those things are all going to be personal preference and question marks whether you get another device versus this one. But don't make the mistake of reading through these tweets and these reviews of people who haven't even touched it yet telling you not to get it. Because I think if you use it, if you buy it, if you're a Samsung fan and you know what you want, nobody who knows what they want and wants One UI and likes Samsung, but they're tired of spending, they don't want to spend $800 on S23. They don't want to spend even more on an S23 Plus. They're tired of the Ultra. They don't need the S Pen. They don't need the periscope zoom. They don't need all these gimmicks. They're done with it. They say, you know what? I want good, solid performance. I want a good battery life. I want a fantastic display. That's one thing I didn't mention in this video so far. I did in my other video. I'll link it at the end. The display is phenomenal. Phenomenal. Like one of the best panels you're going to get on a phone at any price. Really bright, really good, saturated, representative Samsung panel. If you're somebody that knows what you're getting with the Samsung ecosystem, and you could get in there at this price point, $600, am I bugged by the $630? Yeah, because they retraded on us. They told us that it was going to be $599, and they was like, oh yeah, surprise, $629. Well, where'd that come from? What we need the extra $30 for? Shipping and handling? It's like an infomercial from the 90s. Whatever it is, I don't like that. $600, if you get a trade, you get even less. Sales are going to be coming. Black Friday, who knows? If they drop this to something like $550 or $499, it's a no-brainer. Don't worry about the chipset. Don't look at the age and say, oh, blah, blah, blah. There's plenty of things. A Snapdragon 845 could still do a heck of a lot for what a lot of people are going to be doing. I understand it's an extreme example. You're going to get a lot of gaming on this. You're going to get the 4 years of support, and it's going to be a good support because optimization is just as important as the horsepower under the hood. And for me, Samsung's done a good job with that. There's value there. You got to put a dollar amount on that. You can't just go spec for spec down the line and say, well, this phone is equal to this phone because the spec sheet says so. That's wrong. That's wrong. There are other factors involved. And if you know what Samsung offers, then this phone has value that's hidden and not readily recognizable on the spec sheet. If you've made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Until next time, have the Steve-licious day.